All right, without further ado, since it is 8, we'll go ahead and get started. If other people join in, great. I am recording the meeting, so again, if for some reason it was so good live you want to watch it again, you can. But also if you miss it, then I'll have a recording. Or you can certainly share it with friends if they want to sort of get on board. As always, please send a text or a chat message to me, or you should have my cell phone number too if you ever have any questions. Please don't hesitate to call me, text me, email me, whatever works best for you. So, again, end of week 1. So I got some feedback from some of you, and it sounds like it was a pretty good week 1 so far, so that's good to hear. So during week 1, what did we learn? Now, hopefully we learned that measuring volume is interesting. It really is a different concept that most of us are not used to. It's not the way that we were sort of taught in general how to measure our food intake, and yet it certainly makes more sense. When you think of putting gas in your gas tank, you don't measure it by the number of joules of energy that's found in the gas that you're putting in. You just measure it by the gallon, and you know that that gallon of gas is going to propel your car a certain number of miles. So same thing about food. You just measure by the volume, and you know that certain amount of volume of food, even if it's different octane, is going to, on average, get you a certain number of miles. So you probably found that you either ate more or less than you thought you did. So a lot of people will, if you tell them that you can eat 8 cups in a day, will either think, oh my gosh, that's a lot of food, or they think, oh my gosh, that's not enough food. And not until you measure it do you really realize sort of how much you do eat or how much you should eat. And so it usually is very interesting in that regard. Ask yourself, how did your body and your mind react to eating less? Again, if you really focus on the volume and if you understand the concept of decreasing the volume to get to the appropriate weight that you want to be or to lose weight, it does make it a lot easier to think about rather than counting calories and feeling like you're fixated on a certain number of calories. This way you're really fixated more on that volume. And I think it's just conceptually a lot easier to go with. And hopefully it didn't feel like a starvation diet. Really that's not the intention. The idea is to, again, give your body plenty of nutrients, give it enough calories to sustain itself. But again, don't overeat and lose weight if you're trying to lose weight. So hopefully you did pay attention to what you eat and drink. That's the whole concept. If you didn't, then you didn't read the book close enough, and so take another read. Certainly more exercise and activity you have, the more you can be allotted in your baseline cups. That shouldn't give you free rein to just eat more cups because you exercise, though. Again, the calculation is made assuming that you do have a moderate amount of activity, and so you want to exercise and not reward yourself with extra cups. You want to just be active. And if you're not active, you're not allowed to eat as much. So again, it's that balance that we're trying to achieve. Certain medical conditions such as hypothyroidism, where your thyroid is underactive, diabetes, obesity itself may cause you to burn calories faster or slower depending on which condition you have. Again, slower if you have hypothyroidism, slower if you're obese and more sedentary. So again, you may have to titrate the cup consumption slightly. And then the other thing we touched on last week was setting an activity goal for yourself. I think it's really important to try to figure out something that you can give yourself to shoot for as a goal for activity. And again, whether it's walking a mile or running or walking 3 miles, or riding an exercise bike or swimming 10 laps in a pool, whatever it is, set it at a level that'll be a challenge to yourself, but set it at a level that you set yourself up for success, that it's not an impossible goal to reach. So set up a goal for yourself, maybe once a month, once every 3 months, again, so that as you lose weight, you'll be able to accomplish that goal. So in the first week, I did get some feedback from some people that they really had an excellent weight loss. The first week of really any diet may be the most profound. And the reason is, especially with this diet, if you're cutting 4 cups from your baseline intake, that's equal to about 1 or 2 pounds in your digestive tract daily. So a 4-cup deficit is equal to 1 to 2 pounds just of stuff in your digestive tract daily. And so it can take up to 48 hours for food to pass from your mouth to the toilet. And so that means you may have as many as 4 to 8 cups fewer in your digestive tract than you had before. So that can be the equivalent of 1 to 4 pounds less in your GI tract overall. So while it's great if you lost 4 or 5 pounds, wonderful, but some of it may just be your GI contents. If you didn't lose weight, or say you just lost a little bit of weight, again, it may be that you have different types of food that's in your GI tract. It may be a hydration status difference. And so the goal is to understand that this does work. This volume mode is going to work. It's going to help you to burn calories. And it's important to not focus on the day-to-day number or even on the week-to-week number, but focus on the trend that occurs as time goes on. And the best trend really to focus on is what happens to the average people. And we'll get to the survey to show you sort of what happens after week 1 to see what most people did. But it's important to understand that that first week is often the most profound no matter what diet it is. And that may sound familiar when you hear about cleanses or MetaFast or Jenny Craig or HCG supplements or even ProportionFit. All of these diets, all of these concepts are going to bank on the fact that you carry extra weight in your GI tract, and that is those are the easiest pounds to purge, causing, quote, weight loss, end quote. You know, that's not really weight loss, though. That's not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to just expel things from our GI tract. We're trying to lose weight in the form of fat. We're trying to get healthier, and that will come along with this. So again, things like cleanses, all they do is help you to expel things from your GI tract for the most part. A lot of these other things, MetaFast, etc., can work, but again, they're a lot more expensive than what we're doing. And what we're doing is going to be much more effective, much simpler, and really sustainable. So again, be encouraged that you've lost weight. If you have lost weight, don't be discouraged if you haven't lost weight, or if you lost just a little bit of weight. It will come, and you just have to stick with it. So just to review the concepts of the diet again, you want to have a balanced diet. You want to measure anything and everything that contains calories that you put into your mouth. So again, whether it's liquid or solid, you need to measure it and count it. There was a good question that was posed about if you have coffee with creamer, do you measure the whole coffee or just the creamer? Really just measure the creamer portion of that. Again, be careful splitting hairs. Don't cheat. When in doubt, always sort of give yourself the least amount of slack as possible. So same thing with alcoholic beverages. If you're having a rum and Coke and it's Diet Coke, go ahead and just measure the rum. Don't measure the Diet Coke that you're mixing it into. But at the same time, again, don't cheat yourself there either. Be sure to spread meals and food out as much as possible throughout the day. So if you're only allowed 4 cups in a day, try to spread yourself out so you have 1 cup every 6 hours. If you're allowed 8 cups a day, again, allow yourself maybe 2 cups every 6 hours. Again, spread it out as much as possible just to feed your metabolism slowly and steadily. This weight loss phase really prepares you eventually for the maintenance phase. So again, if you're cutting 4 cups lower than you ultimately want to end at, when you finally catch up to your goal weight and you bump back up 4 cups, you're going to find those 4 cups in a day is tremendously filling. And in fact, it's very it's so filling that often it's hard to even go back to your maintenance food if you have a 4-cup deficit. So again, the goal is to give yourself that deficit so that once you reach your goal, your overcompensation essentially has put you at a point where your stomach is conditioned and ready for the maintenance phase. Exercise is very important. It's not as critical as diet, as we talked about before, but it is important to add and really supplement your dietary intake. And the key is really to stick with it. If you have days or weekends or weeks that are bad, just get back on the bicycle and carry on. You will continue to succeed. So just to review, I think we showed this slide last week. But again, just hopefully you found different tricks and different ways to measure cups, and be interested to see if you guys have any comments and any other little tricks that you used. But again, using an actual 8-ounce measuring cup is probably the easiest thing to do. You can visualize different volumes of food. You can estimate them pretty well once you get used to this concept and once you get used to this idea. And really it's practice, practice, practice. The more you do it, the better you will get at it. So here's a survey that you guys were kind enough to complete. If we go to the top of it here, so first question. So you guys completed this, and then I had the last group that started this program about 6 weeks ago. They answered the survey as well, and so most people read the book. I usually what I like to do is filter the results, because ultimately I sort of only care about the people that actually read the book, because the rest of the questions don't, they can't be honestly answered if you didn't read the book. So we're going to look at just all the people that that read the book here. So we're going to filter the results, just the 21 people that answered that did actually read the whole book. So how well have you been able to follow your couple ounces? Some people had a little difficulty. Most people did okay. Some people found it easy. So the vast majority, you know, it wasn't perfect, but it was pretty good. How hungry did you feel? Honestly, if you didn't feel a little bit hungry, you weren't doing it right. You know, that means that you didn't give yourself any sort of a deficit, that you're taking in enough calories to maintain whatever weight you're at. And so if your goal is to lose weight, honestly, you should feel a little bit hungry. So a little bit hungry or somewhat hungry is probably the goal that we're shooting for. Very hungry, you know, ideally you're not down there to the point where you're really, you know, feeling just starved. That might mean that you've gone a little overboard. Maybe you need to give yourself another cup or two back just to try to get to that point where you're a little or somewhat hungry. How energetic did you feel since starting the program? Most people, again, 75% of people feel sort of baseline or normal. A few people felt more energetic, and a couple less or much less energetic. So again, the majority of people are going to feel baseline or on either side of this. What I usually see as time goes on, and most people stay again at baseline or get to the little bit more energetic phase because they've lost weight, and now they just have a little bit more energy. They can get a little bit further, getting healthier as time goes on. How'd you rate the book overall? These are more for my interest than anything. Average, good, bad, the ugly. The instructions in the book, again, maybe people are just being kind. How have you used the ProportionFit diet to lose weight? I think this is interesting to see what people do, and it's really all across the board. I like this method of 4 cups, subtracting 4 cups daily to achieve 2 pounds of weight loss per week. That is one of the most popular methods, but again, you really have to titrate it to what is best for you, and as I talk about in the book, it's really a matter of choosing what works best for you. A good percentage, of 30 people, are following the Eat to the Weight You Want to Be program, you know, trying to, again, fixate at a certain weight and then eat the number of cups appropriate for that weight and let their weight just slowly taper down to that level. So again, there's a lot of success in different ways to use it. This is obviously the most important and the most interesting slide. So here we are looking at how much weight has been lost after 1 week on the diet, and we have anywhere from gained weight, 1 person gained weight, 3 people no weight loss, and the rest of people anywhere from 1 to 8 pounds lost in the first week. The majority of people at a 2-pound loss, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You know, we have a wide variety. I did the math on this really quick, and it's a total of 70 pounds loss among 23 people. You know, I've filtered it down to take out the 2 people that didn't read the book, but anyways, it was 70 pounds amongst 23 people, which averages just over 3 pounds per person. So it's 3.04 pounds per person. So again, for 1 week to lose 3.04 pounds on average, I think is great. And again, you're going to see results all across the board. The key is I don't want the people that are right here discouraged. Don't want these people to become complacent either. You know, the tendency is if you do really well to think, oh, that's great. You know, I'm hitting it out of the park. I don't have to do it as hard. Well, again, don't let your guard down. You got to stick to it here. Same thing. Don't become discouraged if you're right here. It just means that, okay, maybe you either just need to stick with it, give it another week, maybe take another cup away to accelerate the weight loss, or maybe these people aren't trying to lose weight, trying to lose it very slowly. Again, if you started out at 120 pounds and you're trying to get to 110 pounds, okay, you should probably only lose about 1 pound a week. If you started at 350 pounds, you're trying to get down to 250, yeah, you should probably ratchet up and try to get to the point where you're losing anywhere from 2 to 4 pounds per week. So again, it's all very individualized, but it's nice to see the average is at just over 3 pounds in the first week. What's the biggest challenge? Most people, you know, cost expense obviously really isn't there. You know, once you buy the book, that's really your cost. Difficult to follow? Good. I'm happy to see it. Nobody says that. You know, hopefully the explanation or the direction is pretty simple. A lot of it really comes down to self-motivation, having to stick with it. That's tough. The fact that we're often hungry. Again, some people find that hunger is a motivating factor because it tells you that, yeah, you are running a bit of a calorie deficit, which is what we're shooting for, but it still is a challenge. And then the temptation's all around me. I think that's always the toughest thing, and I'm guilty of that just as much as anyone else. I love, it was my birthday, it is my birthday today actually, and my assistant brought cupcakes. So, I had to have at least one, and I wanted to have two or three. But I shared them with my coworkers and let them eat them instead. So that's always the toughest, one of the toughest ones right there. Not sure it will work. Again, it's encouraging to see people not answering that. I think the results are there. And then lack of support from others around you. The biggest problem there is when you have that lack of support from others around you, that's usually, a spouse who's just not on board with you losing weight, or someone who's close to you, just not being there with you. So again, those are easy things to lose out on. So here's some comments I think that are interesting, and I think very true for most of us. So eating out with friends with a table of pizza and onion rings and drinks, the temptation to eat what I used to. Again, it's very difficult to avoid those situations. You can still go out and have fun. Again, you just have to be very methodical and very disciplined in watching what you eat. Great to hear that's the easiest diet to follow of any I've tried. That's good to hear. Again, funerals, weddings, all sorts of events that happen, especially on the weekends. This person found it easy, and it helped that we explained why they would feel hungry. So again, understanding that hunger isn't such a bad thing necessarily. It's okay to be hungry on occasion. This person had a little trouble figuring out how many cups to assign, and this person had some other medical problems. So again, I think it's interesting to see those results, and I appreciate you doing the surveys. It helps me to understand where people are at. And I think it helps everyone else to get a little insight and understand that they're not alone in this whole process. So again, just to review, measuring volume you find is pretty interesting. We were pretty bad at measuring it at first until we actually do it. Again, a lot of us estimate totally wrong until we actually start measuring. It's very important to measure everything that enters our mouth and has a calorie count. So again, I don't care if it's popcorn without any salt and butter, or if it's cheesecake. A cup is a cup is a cup. Measure everything that goes in your mouth and count it, because it all averages out eventually. So did you pay attention to what you eat and drink? You should have, and you probably do now at this point. More exercise and activity equals more baseline cups. So again, titrate your cups according to your baseline, your goals, etc., how fast you're trying to lose weight. This diet, again, is described as one size fits all, but it depends on how much activity you have, your weight, your goals, etc. And so there is going to be some variation. And as we talked about, if the results are, again, overly aggressive, if you're losing more weight than you want to, go ahead and add back a cup a day. If you find that your results are less than what you want to lose more weight, and you can afford to take away maybe another cup or two a day, then go ahead and do that to, again, titrate your results accordingly. And then, again, be sure to set an activity goal for yourself, whether it's running, walking, biking, swimming. Find something to do, whether it's going to the gym or working out at home. Again, commit yourself to doing something. And, again, give yourself a goal, because if you don't set a goal for yourself, it's really hard to achieve your ultimate endpoint, because you don't have something to strive for. And really the bottom line is this works. I don't want to spoil the surprise. I like to sort of reveal the results week after week, but I just got this 6-week results, and again, people, this is going to be the 5th group now that I've worked with, and to the T, the people that follow this do very well, and it really is very encouraging, and I think you should be very encouraged that you will do well as long as you just stick with it. So without I don't have anything else really to go over at this point. Do you guys have any questions for me? Feel free to type in the chat box, or if you have a microphone, please go ahead and speak up, or phone. Oh, good. So Kathy's talked about some elastic bracelets. Put 7 on in the morning and take 1 off for each cup. That's a great idea. I like that. I have those little ProportionFit bracelets I have just as a visual reminder to help measure volume, but I think that's a great way to keep track of things. That would be another, maybe that's what I should order, is something where you could sort of have a bracelet and you adjust the number of cups on it. I'm working with trying to work with an app developer so that you can have a phone app that allows you just to sort of quick log your cups and keep track of them. The nice thing about it, ultimately it's a matter of counting sort of from usually counting from 1 to 10, somewhere in there is your cup allowance for a day. So usually it's pretty easy to keep track of, a lot easier than trying to count all the calories if you're getting into the thousands. So what I find is, again, if I have maybe a couple cups for breakfast, a couple cups for lunch, maybe 1 or 2 for snacks during the course of the day, it's not hard to again do that math, even if I don't keep an absolute journal of it. It's usually pretty easy to keep track of. Any other questions or comments? You guys must be the best group ever. You're so quiet. If anyone's trying to talk to me, I cannot hear anyone's voices, so let me know if you are trying to talk to me. Type me a message in the chat box. Sherry, you find yourself adding and re-adding all day. What do you mean by that? Does that mean you're having trouble keeping track of the cups and you're sort of losing track over the course of the day? Right. So Stacia asks, if you had a larger weight loss this week, don't set yourself up to expect, like say you did lose 7 pounds this week, and again, that's great, but your expectation shouldn't be that you're going to lose 7 pounds next week. Again, if you did give yourself a 7 or say a 4-cup deficit this week, assume that probably next week you're going to lose 2 pounds. So you also have to understand that works itself in reverse. And so imagine that you do or you are eating to a 4-cup deficit. And then finally you say, aha, I've reached my goal weight. Now I'm going to eat 4 more cups than I used to. That means you're going to have 4 more cups, or after 2 days, 8 more cups of content in your GI tract, which means that your weight, again, what's measured on the scale, is going to go up when you go back to eating your maintenance cup count, because that, again, is going to allow you, again, your GI tract is going to be more full of food at that point. So that's something to keep in mind. So again, the key point is, if you lost a lot of weight, 6, 7, 8 pounds this week, and you're shooting for about a 2 pound per week weight loss, don't be discouraged if you don't have another 7 pound weight loss next week. Expectation, again, should be that you have about a 2 pound weight loss. Okay, so Sherry, just making sure I have my cup count right and that and what I have left. So again, certainly a lot of studies have looked at journaling and keeping track of what you eat and things like that, and found that to be very successful. So again, think of this as sort of journaling and just writing down, whether it's using just a simple note in your pocket or some sort of an app or bracelets or whatever it is. Just keeping track of what you've eaten in an average day, I think, is really important. One of the participants in our last group had a little golf clicker that he used. So a little clicker where it used to keep your score for golf. He used that and clicked on that to keep track of his cups. So that was another little trick he used. So Sherry says, I feel like I'm obsessing a little. I think certainly don't want you to obsess too much. Maybe you should obsess a little. That's probably okay. But again, trying to keep track of this, it's meant to be simple. We don't want to be obsessive. I was very much in tune when I thought about writing this book and putting this together. I have 3 daughters myself. I don't want to set anyone up for eating disorders and things like that. And so, the reality is, what we're talking about, this whole ProportionFit diet, is sort of the opposite of an eating disorder. It's ordered eating. It's really getting your dietary intake in order so that you are, again, doing it appropriately and understanding what you're doing. So it's to me, it's the opposite of an eating disorder. If you're paying attention to what you're eating the right amount. So that's the other thing I really think is important about this. Obsessing about it a little bit, again, is probably normal. I think we all do to a point. You'll find that the better you get at it, the more used to it you get of counting the cups, the easier it becomes, and you obsess about it a little bit less. You'll get more comfortable as time goes on. Yeah, so Stacia had another comment there about, one of the tricks of this whole concept is exactly what you're saying there, Stacia, is because, okay, now you only have 6 or 8 or 10 cups, whatever you're eating. You know how many cups you have. You're going to think about what's in those, what are in those cups. What kind of calories are you consuming? You know that you're hopefully going to get 1/3 of your cups fruits and vegetables, so you're going to try to make a very deliberate choice there. You know that if you're going to eat cheesecake, we always talk about empty calories and sugary treats. And again, if you're going to eat a cup of cheesecake, you know that that's going to be it has to be offset by a cup of something else that's much more nutritious. And so maybe you're going to skip the cheesecake and try to stick with something that's a little bit more nutritious. But again, you don't have to starve yourself. You can have wine, you can have pizza, you can have chocolate. Those are all fair game, and you can enjoy it. You just are, again, hopefully enjoying it in moderation and measuring it. Any other questions or comments? Any of you that I'll just make a little plug. Any of you that happen to be in the area in Roberts, thanks for the happy birthday wish. In Roberts, Wisconsin, the library there, I'm going to be out there doing a little, little presentation and a little book signing, whatever. So if you happen to be out in that area, I'm going to be there from about 6:30 till 7:30, so stop by. And I'm also selling books for only $10, and half of the proceeds are going to go to the library. So it's a little fundraiser for the library. So please come out and join me if you're available. Any other comments or questions? Thank you again, Kathy, as well, for the happy birthday wish. Yeah, just have a great week. I'll send reminders. I usually try to send a reminder sort of twice a week, just to help you get through. As I mentioned before the weekend, I try to remind you as the weekend approaches. The weekend is always the toughest thing to get through, so just be very extra vigilant on the weekend. And really just stick with it. Again, be encouraged by each other, and I really appreciate the fact that you all sort of shared a lot about yourselves and sort of your struggles. I think that really helps everyone to understand that they're not in this alone. There are other people that share the same difficulties, and really you can be very successful at this. One of my colleagues I work with, I think as I mentioned, just started this program in July and has lost 50 pounds at this point, about 6 months into it. And, it's really, it just works so well. And I think I just want everyone to have the opportunity to take advantage of it. Sherry, I'm going to be at the library there. It's on Facebook. If you want to check on the Facebook, just look up ProportionFit on Facebook. But I'm going to be there from 6:30 until 7:30 p.m. Tomorrow evening. Anyone else with any questions or comments? Any tips to share with your colleagues? Any advice for me? Fashion tips? Anything? So our next meeting, the plan will be to meet again in 2 weeks. So not next week, but in 2 weeks from tonight. We'll meet again at 8 p.m. And then we'll have a fourth meeting 4 weeks from today. So again, the next 2 meetings are going to be 2 weeks apart. All right, if there aren't any other questions, I'm going to sign off here in about 30 seconds. So if you have any other questions, please put them in the chat box or ask me out loud. And again, as always, if you have any other questions or anything else comes up, feel free to email me, give me a phone call, or send me a text. It's fine as well. All right, well, I guess I'm going to sign out. You guys have a great week. Don't hesitate to call if there's any problem, and that's about it. Thank you.